Hi, my name's Kate. I am following through with a goal that I set for myself of finishing 100 videos on YouTube to help myself in my communication and presentation skills. So today I wanted to go over the book. I have a goal that I set for myself to start reading a lot more. I used to love to read. I had a ton of time to read before I had kids and a career and all that kind of stuff, and I used to love to read. And I'm finding that I have a lot more time that I could actually dedicate to learning new things and growing as a person. So I decided that I was going to set a timer every day for 20 minutes and read, and I started this a little less than a month ago. Anyways, I had the very first book that I'm reading in this new 20-minute timer is The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And I've owned this book for a really long time. And I've poked around inside of it and looked at some of it and, read probably the first 40, 50 pages or something like that. Never actually finished it. I bought the book like 12 years ago. Like, I've owned it for a really long time. Took the cover off of it because I hate sleeves on hardcover books. And decided that that was going to be the first one. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me because I have to get out of debt and I have to change my financial future. So I decided to do that. So today's video is going to be kind of a recap of that book. There's no like trademarked information or anything like that I'm sharing. Dave Ramsey, if you don't know who he is, you can go look him up on YouTube or on any podcast platform that you guys use. He's everywhere. His baby steps are everywhere. So I'm not sharing any information that he doesn't share on a daily basis. So step number one, and so this is for people who have debt, who feel like they, make too much money to be where they currently are financially, which is me. I'm one of those people. And I do have some debt and I want to change my future, not just for me, but for my children as well. So I decided to do this. And so I am just going to real quick go through the baby steps. So baby step number one is to immediately save $1,000. Do that as quick as you can. Put it in an account where you're not going to touch it, right? It's for emergencies only. You have to buy new tires or, true emergencies that you would normally go and use a credit card to fund. So his personal theory is no credit cards, no debt. You're not taking on any more debt through this process. So I had started that portion of it in October of 2023 where I cut up all my credit cards. I had the $1,000, so I just put that in as my baby emergency fund, and then closed any revolving credit. So the Lowe's, the Home Depot accounts, the furniture store accounts, accounts that you pay, right? But they are credit accounts, and I did hold a balance on a couple of those things. So they were really small balances, so they were one of the first things that I took care of and cleaned up when I started this back in 2023. So I got my $1,000 baby emergency fund. I've only had to tap into that once since October 2023, and that was because I needed new tires. So I didn't need them for my car. I needed them for my son's car. Anyways, I needed new tires. So I replenished that right after I spent it. I stopped paying additional payments on debt, which is what you do in baby step 2, and then I refocused on refilling that emergency fund. So I've got my number 1 done. My number 2 is called the debt snowball, and so basically what that is you list all your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate on those, whether it's credit cards or a loan or personal loan, home equity line of credit, what are they called? Student loans. A lot of people have student loans, right? And a lot of people have student loans that bury them. And fortunately, I had one, but I paid that off very soon. So I took out a student loan, actually Yeah, it was a student loan. It was a student loan. It was so long ago. To get all my certifications through Microsoft. So my MCSE, my MCSA, my A+, my Net+, my Security+, all those types of things. So I took out $12,000 a long time ago. And once I got my first job in the IT industry, I just worked really hard to pay that $12,000 off. And I did that probably within 2 years. And I was only making $27,000 back then. So, you know, that was a good bit of money to have to set aside and actually pay off. So I did that. Anyways, you list all your debts, smallest to largest, and that is just so that you can start getting momentum and then gather speed and keep doing it, right? And you'll get more and more excited the more progress that you make, right? And it's the same type of thing that I was talking about before of making obtainable goals so that you can actually hit those goals, and then set new goals and then hit those new goals as well, even if they're bigger and harder to reach. So that's baby step number 2. You get completely rid of all of your debt, except for your house. You don't pay off your house if you have a house. I don't have a house, so I don't have to worry about paying off a mortgage. But so that's baby step 2. Baby step 3 is then saving an actual emergency fund of 3 to 6 months. So if you got let go from your job, or you know, if you decided to do a career switch and you don't make as much money, you know, you could cover your living expenses for 3 to 6 months. So one of the interesting things that happens, I think, as you go through this process of trying to pay off all your debts, right? So you have to find as much money as you can to put extra on that the first debt that's very, very small. And so you start cutting your expenses, right? You start no Hulu, no cable, no nothing. You get rid of all that stuff. And then you take that extra money that you used to pay on those subscriptions or whatever it happens to be, and then put it towards that first bill. You get rid of that first bill generally pretty easy, you know, because it's probably under, you know, $2,000, I would imagine. Anyways, mine was. So it was pretty simple. And then once you hit that, then you're like, oh, okay, well, I can cut out some more. Like, I don't go out to dinner. I don't, you know, do those types of things as much as I used to. And so I won't say that I don't do it. I actually have a line item in my budget, even with the trying to be much, much better, of $100 a month to be able to go out to Chipotle or get some Indian food or whatever. So it's $100 a month that I spend on eating out. So number 3, save 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which would include your charities as well. Like if you currently give to charities now, you would still give to charities your whole time that you're doing baby steps, and you wouldn't cut that out. But the things that you would cut out in baby step number 2 when you're paying off all your debt is if you are contributing to your retirement. So I'll tell you what, when I stopped contributing to my retirement in order to do this, that's when I got serious. Like October 2023, I wasn't serious about it. I mean, I was paying off debt for sure, and I was bringing my expenses pretty low, but not nearly. I was just like, if I'm going to sacrifice my retirement, I'm going to be really focused on getting this debt gone so that I can start focusing again on retirement, because I'm in my mid-50s. I need to be focusing on retirement. So get your 3 to 6 months saved up and put that in, you know, an account where it's not super accessible, right? Whether that's in a high yield or in a different savings account, or maybe in a different bank altogether, where you're not able to just switch it back from a savings to a checking account and spend it that way. So that's baby step number 3. Baby step number 4, once you're done with all your debt, is to get back on the retirement savings plan and contribute 15% into retirement. Doesn't make a difference. I'm not going to go through all. I'm not a broker. I don't know all different types of tools for investments or anything like that. I have a 401k through work, and I have a Roth IRA. So when I'm able to contribute, again, those are the 2 vehicles that I'll use. So I've been contributing to a 401k through work for the last 20 years. So, and then number 5, after you have started contributing 15%, number 5 is to save for your kids' education. Whether that's important to you or not, if your kids decide to go to college, you know, college can be very expensive. My daughter is now 25, And when she was born, her dad and I did that. We started oh my gosh, I can't remember what they're called. Oh, a 529. Yeah, we started a 529 for her. And when it was time for her to go to college, and we didn't put a ton of money into that, but when it was time for her to go to college, there was $100,000 in that account for her to be able to go to college without having any debt or anything like that. Now, I know a lot of people don't like, sorry, I'm petting my dog because he's sitting right next to me. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of doing the 529s or the educational savings accounts because what if your kids decide that they don't want to go to college? Well, it's for any type of educational expenses. So if they, like my son is thinking he doesn't want to go to college, but he may want to go to a trade school in the next year or two after he gets out of high school. So we didn't start a 529 for him, so that'll just have to be stuff either that I pay for with cash or that he pays for in cash, right? Because I don't want him to accumulate any debt to get to further his education either. And I think if you're going to go into a trade, just like I'm considering switching gears on a career, I think that you can do an internship just like I technically would be when I'm going into construction from IT, right? Like you can do internships, even though some of them aren't paid, you know, if they're paid, great. And if they're not, you can get a part-time job that is, you know, helping to pay for your expenses while you're in that internship. So savings education for your children is baby step number 5. Baby step number 6, for those of you that have a mortgage on your house, is to pay your house off. I'm not a financial guru. Dave Ramsey has very good examples of why you would do this, because everybody makes the same argument, oh, I take my deduction, I'm able to write that interest off on my taxes, and it's a deduction for me, and da-da-da. He has great arguments for this. I'm not going to go over that. Baby step number 6 is to pay off your mortgage. Once you do that, you're completely debt-free. You're completely debt-free. You have absolutely no revolving credit, no debt from revolving credit, and then you have no house payment. Regardless of how old you are, I don't care how old you are, having no payments whatsoever is got to be freeing. I'm not there, so I can't speak to how it's going to feel, but I can envision how it's going to feel. And then when I decide that I want to buy a house, I want to pay for it in cash, and I know that might mean that I have a smaller house than I was originally anticipating, but that's okay too. I don't want to have to borrow money. So those, and then the very final baby step is to build wealth and to give generously. Like I said, one of my first questions on the baby steps was, hey, I know that I'm supposed to stop contributing to my retirement, which I did, but just recently, right, when I started getting really serious about it. But at the same time, I donate a lot of my, I donate about 13% of my gross income to charities every month. So one of my questions was, do I stop doing that while I'm trying to get out of debt? Because I could get out of debt a lot quicker if I wasn't donating to charities. And the answer to that is no. You still donate to your charities, whether that's tithing at church or, different charities that you give to, whatever it is. You'll still continue to do that while you're getting out of debt. And just a note on that, I tell my brothers and sisters this, or anybody that talks to me about giving to charities. Just historically, this is what's happened to me. So a long time ago, when I didn't make nearly as much money as I make now, I worked for a newspaper in Virginia, and they would pay you to go for a day of service to some charity, right? So you could take the day off, go work somewhere, or donate your time to something, and they would pay you to go ahead and do that. The thing that I signed up for was the United Way. So I signed up for a day of service with the United Way, and I loved what we did that day. So we went into a really low income neighborhood, and we cleaned up people's yards and people's houses and put fresh coats of paint on the outside of the house. There were some people that fixed the roof. The house that I happened to be working on was a house that someone had turned into long-term care for elderly, right? So it was a really small house, probably 1,200 square feet or whatever, but there was a home where a nurse practitioner or someone in the medical services could take care of these people but not have to put them in a nursing home, right? So they got some specialized care but still were able to be in a regular home. And I thought that that was just the best thing in the world. So the very next year, the company had done a match for the United Way. They had done a pledge for the United Way, and they said, whatever the employees donated, the company would match our donations. And so at the time, my ex-husband and I, we were dating at the time, but our money had already been consolidated. We were dating, but we were living together, so we had consolidated our money, and we had shared expenses. So this was not going to be money out of our pocket. It was just going to be money that was taken out of our paychecks, on a bi-weekly basis. So we talked it over, and I said, hey, I'd like to give $1,000 to United Way. And back then, that was a lot of money because we didn't make a lot of money. We made very little money. So he said, yeah, go ahead and do that, And so then I continued to do that every year. And I tried, as I did that, I made more money. And I didn't do it to make more money. It just happened to be the way that things worked out. And then I started giving some of my time at church as well. I started tithing a little bit more frequently at church, instead of just a couple of dollars in the basket or whatever. I would actually, work more towards tithing. And so over the years, to fast forward 20 years, I try and give 1% more every single year. So now this year I'm up to 13%. My lifetime goal, though, is to become a reverse tither, where I give away 90% of what I make and I live off of 10%. And, I don't know how long that's going to take me to get there. But that's my lifetime goal. That's where I want to be. I don't have a ton of needs, right? I don't live a lavish lifestyle or anything like that. So I give to probably only 4 or 5 charities. United Way is still one of them. And the company that I work for today also does exactly the same thing. So I worked for the Virginian Pilot before. That was my first one that I contributed to. But now the company that I work for now and have for the last 14 plus years, they do exactly the same thing. And every year I increase my contribution and then the company matches that. So I think it's really important. The United Way does a lot more stuff than just, community services. But I think it's important, no matter what charity you want to give to, that you find something that speaks to your heart, speaks to the service that you'd like to do outside of, maybe you don't have time to dedicate for days of service or anything like that, So helping those foundations, those charities be able to do that work, even though you can't be hands-on doing it, I think is extremely valuable and rewarding. I mean, I love that I give away 13% of my money. And I give away a lot more than 13%. 13% is just what I can write off on my taxes. So there's lots of things that I do for lots of different people. Sometimes I don't even tell those people about that, So I'm not out there to do it for recognition or anything like that. I think it just truly makes me feel really, really good when I'm able to give away some of the gifts that God has provided for me. Like, I don't believe that I've earned any of these gifts that I have, this abundance that I have, right? I believe that God has his hand on me and it's his money, and he would want me to give some of it away to people that are less fortunate. So that's what I do. And having been someone who was less fortunate, because I grew up in a very, very poor family, I know that there were people in my community that were giving, to charities or things that would help my mom out. There's no way that she didn't get help when I was younger. So I had 10 brothers and sisters. I had a very big family, and we were very poor. So I know people had to contribute in order for us to have food, have presents. We would have, a living room, even though the living room was not that big. We would have a living room full of presents at Christmas. And my mother didn't make enough money to do that kind of stuff. So I know that she had to have inputs from somewhere else, and I'm grateful that she did have that, and that she lived in a community that could do that for her. And I want to be one of those people that even if I can't donate my time, I can donate some of the money and the gifts that God has given me. So my goal, like I said, is to be a reverse tither, right? Like, especially if I continue to make the same kind of money that I'm making now, or even more in the future. Like I could totally be able to live off of 10% of that. I just have to reduce my expenses just a little bit more. And maybe once my son is out and on his own and doing that kind of thing, I'll be able to work a little bit better towards that. But those days are very close at hand, so I'm working towards that. Anyways, if you are in a situation, sorry, my throat is really dry. If you're in a situation where you feel like you don't have a lot of financial literacy, or you don't have a lot of control over your money, and most people, I think, make plenty of money here in the United States. They just don't have control over where their money is going and what they're doing. They'll just go out and spend willy-nilly. And I know I've been that person for 25 years. So if you're in the same boat, I would highly recommend The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And I mean, if you don't have the money to buy the book because you are doing number 2, the baby step 2, which is the debt snowball, and you're not supposed to be spending extra money, you're supposed to be putting it all towards your debt, then just go out onto YouTube or your podcast and then listen. They have a daily show that's like 2 or 3 hours long every day. So you can go out there and listen to other people's testimonials about what they've done or what they're doing, and you can listen to real live questions. You can call that radio station. You can be one of the people that call in and talk to them and tell them what your current situation is, and what's the best way to start making some progress getting out of it. Again, this is just one of those areas in your life, I think, where, and it's not necessarily, because of a traumatic situation or anything. It may be traumatic. Money might be traumatic for you depending on how you grew up, and how it was placed in your home. But, many people just don't have a lot of control over it. So they'll talk you through it. They'll tell you exactly what I just told you, what those baby steps are. And they'll focus mostly on how you can do it, how you can reduce your expenses is the biggest way, or increase your income so that you can pay down the debt faster. So again, I told you I bought a brand new car, and I'm going to get that second job to pay that car off in a year. I don't want to have any debt on that car. And I have one other debt besides that car. It's pretty large. So right now, currently today, in November, I have $80,000 worth of debt. Well, actually not 80, $77,000 worth of debt. So the car is 40 and the other one is 37. So I'm actually paying on the other debt before the car because it was lower. It was $200 lower than the car. So that's the one that I'm working on now. All the other stuff has already been paid off. And there was a long list, right, of little tiny minute things that would take minimum payments every month, and it would just like wear me down to see all my money just leaving and hardly any of it staying. So anyways, if you guys find yourself in that situation, I would highly recommend it. Go check out his shows, his podcasts, his daily talk show. You can call in and talk to him, talk to any of the members of their team. It's a relatively large team now because it's so popular. But they have helped millions of people in the United States and, other places, other countries, to, reach financial freedom. And one of the next books that I've already ordered, I already have 8 other books that I need to read before I get, to any new books that I'm buying now. But the next book of his that I ordered for myself, because I've ordered a bunch of the Total Money Makeovers to give away as graduation presents this year to kids that I know that are graduating high school, is the Baby Steps Millionaires, because I'll be there. I will be there after, it'll take me a few years, but I'll definitely be there. So I'm really looking forward to that and that part of my life, that next journey. So hang in there, and if you're in the same situation, go check out his material. It's free, it's online, you guys can get it They do a lot of things. If you actually call into the radio station, they'll give you their budgeting tool. I mean, they give away a lot of stuff on that radio show too, because he really has a heart for helping people. I wish you all the luck if you are in the same place that I am, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful and blessed day, and I will talk to you next time, because I'm being consistent about making these videos. You guys have a great day.